Hello, Mystifiers. Welcome to the next episode of Mr. Mystifications podcast. Yeah, just like last episode, we are still thinking of a name, so it is still just Mr. Mystifications podcast. And once again, I am joined by none other than Brad. Say hello again, Brad.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Classic Brad. All right, but we are going to be going over 5 Alaskan urban legends. And the first one that we are going to start with is known as the Alaskan Hairy Man.
Are you starring yourself in this intro?
Am I starring myself in it? I'm not even that hairy, my guy. What are you? The only thing I got that are hair in my arm, I'm not going to say it. We're just going to not say what's hairy. So I want to get into this, and you're going to have to keep your comments to yourself there, Brad. The Alaskan Hairy Man, as described, stands about 6 to 10 feet tall and is covered with shaggy coarse hair or fur of approximately 2 to 4 inches long. It has glowing eyes and is said to look somewhat like the extinct primates. Its arms are elongated enough that the creature can reach its ankles. The Alaskan Hairy Man is known to live in the wide tundra areas near Lake Lamana. This cryptid is known to be a fast and agile creature and is often seen traveling at night. Not only is it fast on the land, but it is also known to be a fast swimmer. This creature is also blamed for stealing fish and dogs, as well as destroying campers' tents. And there have been many different encounters with this creature. In 1956, a fisherman spotted the Alaskan Hairy Man as he was anchoring his fishing boat on the beach at night. A biologist from Ketchikan had later found and took a photograph of huge human-like footprints on that same beach. In 1982, in the city of Dillingham, a hunting guide showed a picture that he had taken of the Alaskan Hairy Man standing on a mountain ridge. And it had an approximate height of 10 feet, and it weighed about 750 pounds with long reddish-brown fur.
Hold on, before you go any further, I just have to add this note. How do they know it's 750 pounds?
Oh, they can tell by a picture. They can tell by a picture,
yeah.
Brad. Yeah, 110% can tell. You know how much, and they look at a picture of me, they're like, this big masculine stud weighs probably about a solid, I'm not going to go there. I'll carry on. I'm getting full of myself. In July of 1999, along the banks of the Kosallik River in Alaska, a group was able to take a photo of a pair of huge wedge-shaped footprints that they had noticed in the mud. The footprints were estimated to be about 12 to 14 inches long and 3 inches deep, and were approximated to be at least 6 feet apart. In the same year, a black-haired huge creature was seen standing on 2 legs in the cold bay of Belkalovsky. It stood about 14 feet tall and had the appearance of an ape with very long arms and legs. Legendary accounts say that children who go out of the house at night get lost in the woods and are transformed into the Alaskan Hairy Man. Perhaps this tale was told to children so they would be afraid to go out at night and stay home instead. Encounters with the Alaskan Hairy Man are mostly harmless and undisruptive, but like any other creatures, it surely will defend itself if it is feeling threatened. And this next story is kind of an encounter story, and it is from a musher as shared on Delta Discovery's website. The time period was sometime during the late 1980s. This happened in late December or early January. I was about 10 to 12 years old. The place was in the Matsu Valley, more specifically near the Forks Road in the Petersville, Alaska area. I was on a 6-dog sled team returning from the Forks. For those familiar with the area, I had just passed the Kenny Creek Valley, the part where the Petersville Road Valley goes down into a valley to Kenny Creek and goes uphill. And going up the hill was slow going for the dogs. It was nighttime, being about 10:30 p.m., but it was a moonlit evening, so everything was virtually lit. And everything was dead quiet, too. Even the dogs were panting lightly, going up the hill that night. I was halfway up the hill at the time when I happened to look back behind me and saw something walking from one side of the road. It had just walked from the creek to the valley. I kept looking at what I saw while I was moving up. The being stopped halfway in the middle of the road, and I saw it looking at me. And this was no bear. It was tall and walked upright like a human. I froze at the sight of the creature. I didn't say or do anything as the dogs crept forward, and I could do nothing but keep looking back at it. The being just stared at me, and it didn't do anything either, other than just keep staring at me. Then as I inched away, the being moved and walked to the other side of the road. There is no chance this was a bear. This was not a human being either, because there is no houses in the area. In this part of the woods, I have no explanation for what this could have been. Alright, so that was the legend of the Alaskan Hairy Man. And I always go to Brad, what were your thoughts on this urban legend? But let's get into the urban legend, Brad. My first thought as seeing this, I mean, it's clearly like another Bigfoot creature, of course. It's very similar, it sounds like, to Bigfoot. It's a very unique creature, I definitely would say. I mean, I don't know, it's just like I said, Bigfoot is always kind of like a unique thing to me. I always enjoy like Bigfoot stories. Doesn't matter like where they're spotted. Just Bigfoot in general to me is just a very unique creature. And I gotta say, for the people, if he exists. What do you think of the urban legend, Brad?
It's not entirely impossible that, you know, some kind of creature like this could exist and roam around the forest and stuff like that. I mean, you know, there's plenty of accounts where people who, you know, let's say like, you know, some indigenous tribes out there that just stayed away from civilization, you know, never really learned the modern tongue. Maybe they went through some kind of like evolution. It's possible. It's just a theory, you know, just a quick thing. Anyways, I know if I came face to face with a creature on two legs that looks like a human, is almost 10 feet tall, I'd probably be like, holy crap.
I'd wrestle it, dude. I would 100% wrestle that thing.
I
wouldn't say I would win.
It's got 750 pounds on you. They said it was about 750 pounds.
Well, false. I'm at almost 180, thank you. So it doesn't have quite that much on me.
Sorry, about what, 600 pounds?
Nothing. Chump change. No, I would probably, like I said in the other story, if you see like the gates of hell, I would probably do the same thing here. I saw a creature that was 12 feet tall. I would crap myself. But luckily, like the story said, that this creature really isn't going to, you know, hurt you unless you provoke it. Or the stories that nobody actually ever got like attacked or anything like that by it. So, I mean, that makes it a little better, I guess.
Yeah. I'd say though, if I was a good distance away and this creature has not seen me, I'd definitely be sitting there just staring it down, like watching what it does, getting a good idea of the characteristics, what it's doing, and how it looks. Maybe even try to get, you know, a photo that's not blurry, quote.
Or take a video, just pull out your camcorder, put it on TikTok, get TikTok famous, you know, as the kids say nowadays.
As for how scary this one is, I'd have to say it'd be. I give it a 3.
A 3? You'd give this a 3.
I'd give it a 3.
I mean, the overall story, but if I was in this person's shoes and encountered what he encountered, I would probably be solid 7 if I actually saw it. Like this,
he was a good distance away. He was a very good distance away, and he had a bunch of dogs.
So what? You don't know what this creature is, like how fast that son of a bitch can move. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have swore. That son of a gun can move. You don't know how fast that son of a gun
I don't think that thing is going to outrun a pack of trained sled dogs in that kind of environment. I just don't think it's going to happen. Maybe, you know, even a bear would have, you know, probably struggle trying to catch up to the sled dog team. And you got to take into the fact what kind, you know, says even though they were going uphill, maybe it was a straight, you know, pretty straight shot. Not a lot of like obstructions in his way. Like they're going at a good pace. I don't think that thing will catch.
Yeah, I know. Me and you are kind of different with that. But it's all right.
Okay, four legs times that by how many dogs versus a 2-legged animal?
Yeah, but they're pulling something.
Yeah?
Who knows what's on that sled? Like, you know, they gotta pull the weight too.
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
Right.
I'm not convinced.
I mean, I guess since though, even though they did say that it doesn't, there's no attack. So I mean, the chance of that actually probably charging you is gonna be slim. You know, because you're that far away. It's probably gonna be like, what the hell are you? You know, probably thinking the exact same thing. What the hell are you?
So I stand firm, a 3.
Yeah. I would say the story itself, would probably be like, I would say 5 still. I still think it's kind of creepy, but that's just me, I guess. But all right, we are going to go on to the next legend.
Afraid of Sasquatch.
You said, let's go Sasquatch hunting, Brad, and if he runs into you, I'm like, this guy's not afraid of you. This guy's not afraid of you at all. He's
I never
yours.
said I wouldn't be afraid of them. I just said that I would be the one that's hiding and is studying, not disturbing the creature.
I would
The
be
creature.
about 15 miles running my ass like, I'm out of here. He's in the bush. Get him. Yeah, no. All right, but with that, I think we can go on to the next story of the Kilut. This creature is an Inuit legend, one who hunts people during the winter, but it's not actually a predator in the strictest sense. It's a spirit of the netherworld. The Kilut is also known as the Kikern. It is sometimes referenced as a spirit of death or an evil earth spirit. While it is actually a spirit, it takes the form of what some believe to be a true cryptid. To be honest, it is hard to say which is a more frightening aspect of the creature. That is an immense, malevolent, black, hairless dog with the sole purpose of preying upon humans, or that is also a spirit, so it doesn't actually abide by the laws of physics. The Kilut's mythological cousin is the Churchgrim or Barguist of Great Britain, who stalks those traveling in the night, which result in an untimely death. The major difference between the Churchgrim and the Kilut is the fact that the Kilut does not have any hair except on its feet. This is said to make their tracks disappear easily in the snow, which gives them the advantage of stalking prey without being noticed. Aside from their predatory nature, these creatures have other similarities that transcend the separation of culture. Both are known to act as a harbinger of death and otherwise feast upon the dead. In Inuit folklore, the Kilut is also known to attack lone travelers. The sight of one would cause distortion, then eventually hypothermia and death. So this next story I actually found on Facebook it was by a lady called Rosemary, and she told her story about being attacked supposedly by the Kilut. Rosemary was heading home when she heard a noise, and she really wasn't too sure of her surroundings because of where she was at. But all of a sudden, she felt a breath on the back of her legs. She turned around, and what she saw was something she could not believe. It was some kind of giant dog-like creature with 4 legs, thin, and its skin looked like almost metalish. Fear struck over her, and out of the fear, she tripped. And as soon as she tripped, she could feel the teeth of this beast bite deep into her leg. As this was happening, Rosemary had no idea what this was, and all she could think was that this beast was going to bite her leg off. But just like that, the attack was over and the beast was gone. Then Rosemary went home and told her grandfather about this, and he drew this picture of all these hideous animals. She pointed out what the creature resembled and the creature that attacked her, and this is when he realized it was the Kilut. And I just want to say a special thank you to the Facebook page that I found this on. It is called The Basement Hangout. That is where I found the story. So if you want to check it out and hear her side of the story, that is where you can find it. But anyways, I'm going to talk about this urban legend here. Yeah, that'd be kind of terrifying that it is known as the harbinger of death, kind of. You know, like it follows you and you're pretty much dead. So it stalks you. That is very, very creepy to me. What do you think, Brad? How would you rate this? How do you feel about this?
I honestly think it would be pretty frightening. I'd give it at least a solid 6 or 7, just because of the fact that, even if this thing, you come face to face with this thing and you still don't, you don't meet an end right away. Maybe you say you just get a little cuts and bruises, maybe just a puncture or two, you know. It's just the idea and the fear that this thing is now coming after you, especially if you know what it is. You'll always live in that constant fear that this thing is going to come after you. It's going to get you. So can you imagine just being that person, being hunkered down, almost hermit-like, and just, eventually, hysteria would just kick in at that point. I think it would slowly cause the person to go
You go
insane.
insane and lose your mind. I mean, yeah, I could definitely see somebody going insane because I mean, like I said, it's also a spirit, so it's like you just think that.
Let's go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man. That's pretty much all I said. That it's a spirit, so it can go anywhere and whatever the heck it wants.
And that being said, since it's a spirit too, and there's so many different avenues that come into play about spirits, and nothing's really 100% foolproof or known. There's just not enough correlating data to really pin it down. But again, to add to that mass hysteria, what if this thing can manifest itself and you're the only one that can see it? So you're around a group of people and this thing's just tormenting you, and everyone thinks you're nuts because you see this thing, and maybe it is real, or maybe again, it's all a figure of your imagination. Who knows?
That your brain is just kind of playing the trick on you, and you're like you pointed out, that you're gonna go slowly insane. It's not actually there, but you're just so petrified by this thing that your brain just kind of like puts it there. Yeah, I would even say that's kind of like an 8, 9, because I mean it's dealing with your like mental health too.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to have a lurking shadow over me 24/7 that puts me on constant high alert. I mean, there's no reprieve from the stress that builds at that point. I would definitely say I agree with you.
Yeah,
That's freaky.
yeah, like I said, because like mental things are just completely different aspect of like pain and like jeez, yeah. So definitely, I would say pretty high 8 for me on that. How scary that would be. But anyways, we could probably go into the next one. We're gonna away from the cryptids a little bit. We're gonna be talking about the Alaskan vortex urban legend.
So the Alaska Triangle, sometimes called Alaska's Bermuda Triangle. It's a place in the untouched wilderness of the frontier state where mystery lingers and people go missing. The Alaska Triangle connects the state's largest city of Anchorage in the south to Juneau in the southeast panhandle to Barrow, a small town on the state's north coast. Here is some of North America's most unforgiving wilderness. The area began attracting public attention in October 1972 when a small private plane carrying U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs, Alaska's Congressman Nick Begich, an aide, Russell Brown, and their bush pilot, Don Johns, seemingly vanished into the air while flying from Anchorage to Juneau. For more than a month, 50 civilian planes and 40 military aircraft, plus dozens of boats, covered a search area of 32,000 square miles. But no trace of the plane, the men, wreckage, or debris were ever found. Afterwards, more planes went down, hikers went missing, Alaskan residents and tourists seemed to vanish into thin air. In fact, since 1988, more than 16,000 people have disappeared in the Alaska Triangle, with a missing person rate at more than twice the national average. In any given year, 500 to 2,000 people go missing in Alaska, never to be seen again. Authorities conduct hundreds of rescue missions, most often return without finding a single person or a shred of evidence. These disappearances are blamed on everything from severe weather to aliens, swirling energies, vortexes, to an evil shape-shifting demon of the Tlingit Indian lore called the Kushtaka, but the most likely explanation of these many missing people is the wilderness itself. Within this area, there's dense forests, craggy mountain peaks, massive glaciers, secret caves, and deep crevices where downed aircraft or lost hikers might easily be hidden and then covered by the snowfall, hiding any trace that they ever exist. This harsh landscape is also filled with wild animals and its unforgiving weather, including avalanches. More than half of the nation's federally designated wilderness lies in Alaska, and many of the permanent disappearances are linked to perilous nature elements. Alaska is bound by 33,000 miles of coastline, contains more than 3 million lakes, untamed wildlife, and winters that blanket vast region of the state in snow and ice. However, there are many that support the idea of energy vortexes within the triangle. Energy vortexes are thought to be swirling centers of energy concentrated in specific places. The energy crackles most intensely. The energy radiates in a spiraling cone-shaped clockwise or counterclockwise, creating positive and negative effects. They are thought to affect humans in various physical, mental, and emotional ways. Positive vortex spiral upward in a clockwise motion, creating an enhanced flow of energy. This type is said to be conducive to healing, meditation, creativity, and self-exploration. People actively search these places out to feel inspired, recharge, or to get uplifted. Some of the places where positive vortexes are said to exist are the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, the Sedona Desert, and sacred temples and cathedrals throughout the world. Alternatively, negative vortex spiral downwards in a counterclockwise motion, creating a draining or depleting energy. And the positive energy in its vicinity, in humans they are believed to cause health problems including depression, nightmares, disorientation, confusion, and both visual and audio hallucinations. They are also said to cause electrical instruments to malfunctions. Some places that are said to be filled with negative vortexes are the Bermuda Triangle, Japan's Devil Sea, and Easter Island. Electronic readings in Alaska have found large concentration of magnetic anomalies, some have which disrupted compasses to the point that they are off as much as 30 degrees. In addition, some search and rescue workers have reported having audio hallucination, disorientation, and lightheadedness. It is unclear whether vortexes really exist, and the theory has been open to a good amount of skepticism. But is it possible? Despite warnings from authorities regarding weather, wildlife, and environmental conditions, hundreds of tourists visit Alaska to see the unspoiled land, many of whom are unprepared for the natural events. Some of these people probably become lost in the middle of nowhere, resulting in numerous search and rescue operations. That, however, does not explain why there are more disappearances in the Alaska Triangle than elsewhere in the state. Whether the mysterious disappearances of the Alaska Triangle are the results of natural perils, strange energy vortexes, or ancient evil spirits, they are certainly alarming.
That is definitely a little strange. I mean, I don't really feel like it is actually vortexes, energy vortexes, or anything like that. I mean, Alaska is a very big state and it's not really developed, you know? It's one of the most...
No, a lot of the wilderness is not civil, or is not become turned into big cities or anything like that. It's a lot of smaller towns. You know, their roads aren't that well developed. There's a lot of dirt roads out there, and a lot of them aren't even kept up during the major winter seasons. So it's why they call it a frontier land, because it's still a lot of the majority of the wildlife in Canada has, you know, is still there. It hasn't been revolutionized by humans.
But yeah, and you know how they say, like, why there's probably more people missing there? Well, if it's like Anchorage, which is the largest city in Alaska, I mean, the tourists are probably more than likely going to go to the largest city in Alaska to check it out, go around like the surrounding area and all that, and then there's a chance they go missing because, you know, they don't know it. So I feel like that's part of the reason. I'm not saying it's the full reason. I definitely feel like that is a good possibility.
And I'm sure, like, I mean, there's got to be, like, you know, trails and pathways that, you know, are well known, but on the same token, you know, if people deviate off these paths, which, you know, come on, humans in their nature, we always deviate from the trail paths. We want to go explore. We want to see what's down that area, or maybe there's, you know, like they said, caves and stuff. You see a cave area, you want to go check it out, and, you know, maybe, you know, this group of people go into that cave and it turns out to be too big and they don't know how to get out from there. And I doubt that, you know, search parties are going to go into every single cave, especially if, you know, the cave system is just way too big. They only have so much provisions and stuff like that. I think they would be relying heavily on bloodhounds and stuff like that to be able to pick up the trail if they had something that could link them to the missing people.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree that us as humans, we like to kind of deviate off the path sometimes of what's there. Then we get ourselves in trouble. So it does happen. So let's just go with our scare meter. I'll be real with you that, I mean, it's unfortunate that all this is happening to people in that area. Like, that is very sad. Am I really scared of it? I would say maybe like a 3. That's not really that scary to me. I mean, if it's true, like, I don't know, because I mean, there's got people that go through it every year and they're just fine, you know.
You know, I'm gonna have to give it about a 4.
You're gonna give it.
And the reason why I say it's a 4 on this one is because of the unknown. The unknown always brings people. And what does unknown start with? Unknown starts with piss and vinegar, thrill, adrenaline, excitement, and, you know, a lot of times that leads to overstepping bounds, and then you get yourself into a particular situation. So I think it can become real scary real fast.
Well, yeah, definitely, like I said, it could definitely turn into a scare. Like, yeah, if you go into there, like, full piss and vinegar, yeah, and, like, you kind of bite off more than you were expecting, then yes, it will turn probably very scary for you real fast, especially in Alaska.
And who knows, you might even see the Alaskan hairy creature.
Maybe you can ask him for directions, but man, how do I get back? I'm lost.
To people who are listening too, if you run into him, can you get an exact weight of this particular creature? Just for Mr. Mystification, because he says he doesn't have that much weight on him compared to him.
Yeah, I want to know his exact weight to see how much I would have to try throwing around a little bit. Except he would still toss me like a like a paper airplane. I'd be like, woo, there I go. Anyways, I don't really have much more on that. So, are you ready to go into our next topic, Brad? It's a very short topic. It's a very short topic.
Definitely leads to many different things. We'll put it that way. Go ahead, carry on.
Our next urban legend is going to be about the secret government mind control facility. HAARP, High Frequency Active Aurora Research Program, is a controversial U.S. research facility based in Alaska that investigates the potential for developing ionospheric enhancement technology for radio communications and surveillance. Conspiracy theorists have long believed that this facility does in fact have the ability to modify the Earth's weather, disable satellites, and even control people's minds. Add that to its remote location and the fact that it's built in a joint project involving the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and the Defense Advanced Research Protocols Agency, DARPA, and you've got a recipe for a device that conspiracy theorists can blame just about anything on, according to the Alaska News Miner. That's pretty much the whole urban legend, is that there's a base in Alaska or a research facility, and there's a lot of like antennas and satellite stuff there, and people think they can control minds there. That's literally the whole thing, because it's the U.S. military. They definitely have something advanced and secretive in there.
Well, not to totally like debunk it or anything, but
I'm
stuff like this is it's everywhere. I mean, a common one if you're a big video game nut, Polybius, the mind controlling game of the 90s. Then you have, when 5G was going to be rolled out, everyone thought that it was going to be this thing that was going to be able to control people's brains. And so, especially the 5G thing, that would definitely fit into this whole U.S. research facility. But again, I think it's highly unlikely. But who knows? We're not there. We don't know. It's a mystery.
Yeah, I highly doubt it is as well. I don't think our government would be spending their money on something like that. But
the media does that enough. You can just edit that out.
Nope, that's staying in, Brad. That is staying in. Let the media know. We are the media, damn it. All right, Brad, so what would you rate on a scare meter the secret government mind control facility? I'll be real. I don't believe this one bit. I feel like it's just a big conspiracy, bunch of blah. So it's a 1 for me. I'm not scared of this at all because I don't believe it. But what do you think, Brad?
Well, I'm going to give you 2 individual ratings. 1, because I'm half on the fence for both of them. I'm going to agree with you on the 1. Is it likely that that's happening there? Definitely not. But on the slim chance it is, that's a solid 10. And the reason being is because if they do figure out how to control somebody's mind and make them do what they want, there goes sense of free will. And what if you don't even remember doing it?
Now that you throw that into it, I'll bump it up to a 2. You gotta have a brain for them to control, buddy. I'm sorry. I shouldn't rip on myself like that, but yeah, no, like I said, I don't know. I just don't believe it one bit, so that's why I find it hard. But if they did do it, yes, it would definitely be very scary. I'll say that it would be scary to have your mind controlled, not especially if you can't remember it. That's the thing. If you couldn't remember it at all, and people are like, "Oh, this is what you did,"
Well, come on. It's a U.S. facility. If they're doing shady stuff, they don't want you to remember that you did it. They don't want their secret getting out.
Oh. I suppose, man. I suppose.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't just say just the U.S. To be unbiased here, if any government, world power, whatever, figure out how to do that, It'd just be terrifying.
It's
They would abuse it.
it's like Brad saying that the entire world powers are kind of shady. Huh. Who would have thought? You ready to talk about the fifth and final urban legend of Alaska, Brad? Are you ready to tell the viewers about this? Well, not viewers, listeners, I should say. You ready to hear?
Let's do it. Let's talk about the Kalopalit. So when you think of a mermaid, you may conjure images of a kind-hearted, beautiful half-fish, half-human, or the dangerous siren that can lure sailors to their death. However, the Inuit legend of the Kalopalit is a little bit different. The Kalopalit is likewise a creature of the sea, but she is more often thought of as a water spirit, a sea monster, or just straight up a demon. In this respect, it is said to be more similar to the Japanese kappa, a water demon who steals children and consumes them. Folklore recorded from the Inuit sources are purposely vague on whether or not the Kalopalit is the only one of her kind, or whether there are great numbers of these monsters living in the Arctic seas. But she is regularly referenced as being a single creature. In Alaskan and Canadian Inuit culture, there are Arctic Ocean dwelling creatures known as the Kalopalit. Unlike other mythical mermaids and sirens, there's absolutely nothing attractive about the Kalopalit. Despite the persistent popular mermaid princess culture that surrounds much of the lore of this aquatic creature's cousin, the Kalopalit is not described as having any pleasant features, let alone the amenable demeanor. Wraith-like in appearance, her long black hair is perpetually plastered to her sallow, slimy, scaly skin. Her ghastly, despondent face is paired with her dark and hollow eyes. These creatures are often depicted as having fins that jut out their heads, backs, and arms. Their webbed feet and hands are topped with long, sharp claws. All of this is enough to strike terror into the hearts of the children the Kalopalit preys upon. The Kalopalit is rumored to reek of sulfur. You know, the smell of rotting eggs, aka, demons lurking. Hello. So it's curious that she would ever get close enough to someone without them noticing. But adventurous children who don't heed the warnings of their parents are the ones she seeks to claim. She hums beautiful melodies to lure them to the icy banks of the ocean's shore, where she snatches them up and stuffs them in her amatu, a duckskin coat similar to a parka with a pouch for young children. It is quite normal for Inuit parents to caution their children about the dreadful Kalopalit, and they would do so frequently, telling their children that if they hear the humming noises near the shore, that the Kalopalit is near. Unfortunately for children, the humming is similar to that of a siren's song, as it is meant to entice children to come closer to the shore or out onto the dangerously thin ice. Those who have sighted the Kalopalit report that these creatures can only be seen for an instant before they just vanish. But the child's victims of the Kalopalit would not be as lucky. She would leap out from under the water and sink her sharp claws into their flesh and drag them forward into the icy abyss. It is said once she seizes a child, she takes them down to the freezing depths of the ocean, where she either eats them or takes them away, enchanting them with sleep and feeding off of their youth, so that she may remain young forever. The child is never to be seen or heard from their family. Alternatively, the child would get a brief glimpse of the face of the Kalopalit, which might resemble a woman's face that turned green and bloated from the rotting under the sea. This child would experience their last few moments of life in pain as the freezing water rushed into their open, screaming throat, and feel the blood in their veins freeze as they heard the distant voices of their family crying out their name.
Okay, now that was actually a pretty creepy story. I mean,
yeah, that's definitely would be very scary. Nothing about, again, we haven't been able to explore most of the deepest parts of our oceans and stuff like that. So the fact that there could be something under there that's lurking that we have no knowledge of, that could be equally just as terrifying. Yeah. I'll give it a solid 9. I definitely fear not being what I can't see,
Mhm.
and water being one of it. If you can't see all the way down to the bottom, you have no idea what's in there.
Yeah, I'll be straight up with you. I have a fear of the ocean in general. Like, I absolutely fear, like, what the heck could be in there. So, yeah, that's definitely like a 9 or 10 for me, because that's one of my biggest fears, is just, like, not knowing what can be, like, in there and, like, what's around you, you know? And not just that, I mean, like, she literally lures in kids. Like, that's creepy. Like, if you just heard, imagine if we were younger and you just heard humming, and the next thing you know, some claws are just coming and grabbing you and just yanking you into freezing water. That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. I'd definitely give that a 9 or 10.
Yeah, it's definitely traumatizing. 100%.
I mean, if my parents told me this story, I'd probably never want to go outside, like, by the water ever again. For real. Like, if I was a kid and be like, I heard this, my parents tell me this story, I'd be like, I'm never going to go by the ocean. It's just not going to happen, my man.
I don't know. I'd be more afraid of a megalodon or a plesiosaur.
Oh, don't it. They're extinct, my man. A megalodon.
Supposedly.
Supposedly they're extinct. The world may never find out because we don't explore the whole ocean. We probably never will.
I thought about the giant squid, too.
Yeah.
Dark and mysterious.
All right, Brad, that was the 5 urban legends of Alaska, and we've already done 2, so we're gonna do a little bit of a rating thing. We're gonna rate the urban legends based off the state and how scary we thought it was overall. So if we're gonna take Alabama's urban legends that we did on the first podcast and Alaska, what one would you rank as the number 1 scary place for urban legends right now?
I would definitely have to say Alaska. Alaska is just hands down. There's just so much unknown about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think Alaska right now is number 1, and number 2 is Alabama. Who knows where they'll end up by the end of these podcasts, because we got a good solid 48 more states to go, of course. So, who knows where everything's going to end.
I will say one thing, though, about Alabama. If it's true that the one bridge is the gate to hell, then hands down, they win all day long. Because who knows what the hell's in there. No pun intended.
Who knows? But I mean, if we're just taking overall ratings from the other stories, I would say right now Alaska for the actual overall scariness of the urban legends.
I definitely
right
agree.
Now. But yes, if it's the gate of hell, nothing's gonna be scarier than the gate of hell. We'll be real with that one. But anyways, guys, that was the second podcast for Mr. Mystifications podcast. Once again, if you have any stories that you want to tell us or encounters that you want to tell us, feel free to message me on Facebook. The username is Mr. Mystification, or send me an email at mrmystificationx@gmail.com. And with that, guys, we shall catch you on the third podcast coming up a little bit later.